Argylle BaconBit. I don't know how to do it.
I know. Is it a James Bond one? We're not really sure.
It's kind of, but not.
Yeah.
But hey, listener, how's it going? We're doing our first Bacon Bit of the year.
Yeah, and what a movie.
What a movie.
I mean, usually we wait till there's like a Marvel or DC or big tentpole
This was the
movie.
number one anticipated movie of 33% of bacon sale.
Meaning?
Me.
You. Yeah. Look, I thought this one was going to be a bomb. The jury is still out. We'll see.
Okay, here's the thing. It came out, it's coming out in February.
Yeah, February 1st.
Yeah, so it's out. And the thing about movies that come out in January, February, March-ish, they're usually not that good.
They say that January is where movies go to die. Also, I'm here too.
Zach's here.
Hey.
But you didn't get to see the movie, though.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Why did you say it like that, you jerk?
I mean, we didn't even tell him that the movie was
I
happening.
didn't find out until I was like, hey, we're recording extra stuff tonight.
Listen, Zach,
jerks.
Did you hear how excited he was about Argylle last week?
He's so excited.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
Really wanted
Couple
to
weeks
see
ago.
it.
I'm so happy.
Whereas we
for
were
you.
like besmirching like the bad hair of Henry Cavill.
I mean, I don't know about
But
bad.
that's the point. It was
not
intentionally
appropriate.
supposed to look bad.
Wait, not appropriate?
I mean, he doesn't have the hair for it.
Like the hairline for it?
No, like the hair texture for it. But I don't want to go.
No,
into
like
it.
so we'll get into it. That's
Spoken
actually
like a
part.
barber.
Yeah.
That's part of the story / character.
Yeah.
So the movie we're talking about is Argylle.
Yes, and we will be
How many
keeping it-
L's are in that?
Two.
Okay.
And we will be keeping it spoiler free here at the beginning, and we'll give our review and our thoughts, and then we'll let you know we're going to jump into the spoiler full territory.
So I have the synopsis here. A reclusive author who writes espionage novels about a secret agent and a global spy syndicate realizes the plot of the new book she's writing starts to mirror real-world events in real time.
Now, Kent, who's in this?
So everyone?
Yeah.
Everyone that's ever been in a Matthew Vaughn movie. Matthew Vaughn is a director, by the way.
Who did Kick-Arse and
Kingsman?
Kingsman?
Yep.
And X-Men First Class?
If you look at the poster,
Right.
you would think that Henry Cavill and Dua Lipa are the main stars.
They kind of are.
Outside of 3 minutes of the movie,
I'm just saying they are in the sense of they are the biggest stars.
Henry Cavill does play Agent Argylle,
Yes.
right? And
A James Bond type character.
without spoiling,
Don't spoil.
no, there's no spoilers here. She is a spy author.
Oh, yeah. That's
So
from the
this is
trailer.
a story within a story because the main star here is Bryce Dallas Howard, who plays the author of the books. And then we also have the agent that is assisting her, saving her life, going on this adventure with her, played by Sam Rockwell.
Yes.
And so they are the two actual main stars.
Yes.
And
Which
then
you get that from the
literally everyone else is in this movie.
trailer. And the CGI cat.
yeah,
That's in the trailer as well.
right.
So, and this movie, I mean, if you've seen the trailer, you get the concept of it, but essentially it's just like what would happen if the stuff you realize the fiction you were writing is somehow coming to pass.
I have
Right.
questions.
Yeah,
You
go on.
may have many.
Would you call this a parody at all?
Yes.
In the sense that, like,
More of a satire.
Like, I believe that, satire is maybe a good word. So let's look back at Kingsman. Kingsman was like kind of trying to go off of tropes of James Bond and
Yeah.
spy movies and the like. Does this have some of
Same
that?
vein.
This is inconsistently a satire.
Okay.
And because
Inconsistently. I feel like you want to give your review, Kent.
well, you're really looking for this movie. I will say this.
No. Take the gloves off. It's okay.
Okay, here we go.
Hold on. I got more questions.
Oh, okay, go on.
Does this movie have a satisfying level of action? I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't seem like it's an action movie. It seems more like it might be kind of an action comedy.
The action scenes are fun, but
There are a lot of them.
But based on the pacing,
Yeah.
no.
Interesting.
It's 2 hours and 19 minutes long.
Do we spend a satisfying amount of time in the fictional book world?
No,
Okay.
Yes.
You say yes, Joel. Okay.
because you were satisfied with the level.
Because it's not the main story.
Right.
It's the side story.
This is a very meta thing.
It is.
It was pitched as, what if Harry Potter went to J.K. Rowling's house and said, everything you wrote is real? Mm-hmm. And that's the idea here.
And we
right?
may see that movie in the future.
Yeah. Allegedly, this may be that movie. Who knows?
All right. Are those your questions?
Probably.
Jump
Go
into
on.
it, Kent.
Review.
Review
Spoiler
away.
free.
Okay, spoiler free to
Apparently
begin with.
there are twists and turns in this here film.
So if you've seen the trailer, you kind of do know the setup of this movie, where you get Henry Cavill, who is Henry Cavill, right? And he gets to have a lot of fun. And he has that horrible flat top, which you're kind of like...
It's too tall.
It's too tall, but also...
In my professional
Agent
opinion.
Argylle is meant to be this archetype of James Bond-style spies.
Yeah.
Right? And it even plays on that in a very fun way, but it's like a spy with the spy team as well.
It seems like he is how someone would describe a James Bond type. Not exactly like James Bond.
Yeah, it's like-
if you were to pitch him, basically it'd be like this.
It's like a James Bond beefed up, but at the same time, it's the James Bond that I want to see in the future.
To me, it's more. It seems to be more like
Velvet suit.
Oh yeah,
it seems to be more like, hey, this is the things that people notice, but not the stuff that I like about James Bond.
Yeah,
as the purist.
So I will say, like in the first act, they play really well with that.
Okay.
And that is in the story. There are some action scenes where they're so preposterous that you would see them in James Bond, and you would get such a thrill out of them. And in that way, it reminded me a lot of Kingsman: The Secret Service, where I'm like, oh, Matthew Vaughn knows exactly what he's doing here. And then they kind of jump to the real world with this author, and she's writing this story, and she has her insecurities, and they play a lot in that. Then she meets a spy, and then everything goes topsy-turvy. And I kind of call this like the author that knew too little, because she's kind of dragged along on this adventure where she's just worried about her cat and her own survival. And I will say, like, first act, I was super into this. And then, like, somewhere in the second act, and I'm not saying I was ever like, oh, I hate this at all. I never felt that, because I love Sam Rockwell. I like Bryce Dallas Howard quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then with the action scenes, they splice in the book characters with the actual characters.
Yes.
And Joel, I don't know if you found that clever or not, or if it was like a little annoying.
They used it too much. I'll admit that.
I think there's a train action scene where they use it great, and then they could have let it go. But in those moments, Henry Cavill was hamming it up, and I love to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what kind of movie he was in.
How close to Napoleon Solo and A Man from U.N.C.L.E. is he?
Very different.
Bummer.
Yeah. But no, not a bad thing at all. But then they kind of let it go. He's really only in about 5 minutes. And this movie is funny, but there's just way too much of a lull. There's a lot of action scenes, and then they try to explain the plot and explain the twist. And it really did lose me in the second act. And then into the third, where everything was a twist. And everything is contrived. But guess what? As like silly and kind of dumb as the whole experience it is, it's kind of super fun. Okay. At the same time. Like, and it sounds weird to say it's slow and there's a lull and everything like that, but it's still a Matthew Vaughn movie. He still knows what he's doing, and the actors are having fun.
They are.
Like, it's kind of like a cartoon, right?
Matthew Vaughn is approachable Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
I can see that.
He's like Kirkland Guy Ritchie to me, where there's a lot of colors about it. It's very vibrant stuff.
Yes, it is.
But it's funny because I do, this is like one of the few things I said to Joel after the movie. This movie...
Because he doesn't talk to me off the air at all.
At all, right? Please don't. It's very PG-13 to a point.
Yes, to that credit, like, because Kingsman was a hard R.
Yeah.
This has a lot of gunplay. Like, a lot.
Yeah.
Virtually no blood.
So remember the cool action scenes near the end of Kingsman, right?
Great.
Very memorable.
Yeah.
This one is like, hey, people like that. We need a cool action scene here. And it was like one too many, actually.
Speed rampy.
Yeah.
Slow down, speed up. Yeah.
Oh, that, but like a lot of colors.
Yeah.
And because it's not rated R, the movie's actually a little bit worse for it, which sounds weird. I think the impact and the shock value is gone. This movie needed that.
It needed a little bit more emancipation of Harley Quinn action.
Oof.
Yeah.
No, it has a lot of that, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But overall, man, I kind of struggle with my final grade on this because I had fun. And I will say the women in the crowd love this movie, specifically a small pocket of women.
There were some people that were having a good time.
Like it's almost like they've never seen a movie before.
That's what
it always happens with those things.
I'm not going to say what it was. There was a twist that happened, and they literally, all of them literally went, "Oh no!
Yeah, and
What?"
Joel and I look at each other. We were smirking
because it was
telegraphed.
Like, you saw it coming.
Sure.
Yeah, and this movie is very twisty, almost too twisty. Actually, it is too twisty, not even almost. And so at the end, it's a good Valentine's movie. It's fun for like a date night. I really lean, I think quality, C+. But as much fun as I had with it, B-, because I actually think it's quite humorous. I'm going to land on B- because I do think it's a humorous movie.
That is way higher than I thought you were going to go.
That's way higher than you sound like you're.
Yeah.
No, and that's where I'm at. Like, it's kind of like C+ at the end of the year. But like, as far as like, I did laugh quite a few times in this movie because Sam Rockwell is just that funny.
There's a lot of funny parts.
His timing is perfect.
Oh, hold on. I'm looking at the movie poster. It looks like there's a little red box at the top. It says Marvel. What's the score now?
No, it says Marv.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's actually Marv.
It actually
and this, but I will say this also, and this kind of pulls it back for me to go negative. The environments, everything seems like it's filmed on the volume. Everything felt so CG.
There was a lot of
it was just sound
odd
stage.
CG. Like there's a part where there's something spilling on the floor, and I was like, "That's not real."
I know.
Like, there was oil spilling on the floor, and I'm like, "That's not real."
So it felt a little synthetic to me. But as far as like, if I took a date to this movie, we'd both have a good time.
Would you say this is probably the best thing in the theaters for the next month or two?
100%.
This will be the one people go to.
Yeah, it's one they should go to.
So do you think it'll do well at the box office?
I don't know. I think people are still like, I'll watch something on streaming.
I think this sounds.
It deserves to succeed.
This is going to come out on Apple TV Plus pretty soon.
It deserves to succeed, but not be like this huge tentpole movie.
This sounds like a movie that people will end up seeing, but there's no way of knowing, but I feel like it's going to be on streaming fairly soon.
It will.
I actually
Apple TV bought it.
I did not know it was headed to theaters. I thought it was exclusively Apple Plus.
Yeah, which makes me wonder how it's going to do the box office if they pull it ripcord too early. But Kent, would you say people should watch this in theaters or wait for Apple TV
In theaters.
Plus?
I think it's being a comedy. I think it's fun to share those
I agree.
laughs.
I think if you watch this in theaters, you'll get the reaction that we did, that we heard.
Which was made it way more fun.
Ken had me in the critics section where you're not allowed to talk or look at each other. And I couldn't talk to him, obviously, because he doesn't let me talk to him off the air.
Nope.
But the people around us were just people who'd won passes and were happy to be there, and they were loving
People
the movie
who weren't
experience.
taking notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Joel, what about you?
So for me, this was one of my most anticipated. It was because the trailer, I went, that sounds interesting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had my hesitation with the CGI cat parts.
That's called using your brain.
I still don't know if there was actually a real cat ever on set. There were parts when I was like, that could have been a real cat. Why did you make that CGI?
I think it's just it's got to be so CGI that they would not dare use a real cat.
Maybe.
Right? You don't want to switch.
But there's even a part where he's like just petting the cat, and it wasn't a real cat, and I was like, why? But I think this is dumb fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Totally.
Is it ridiculous? Yes. But is it fun? Yes. I think Sam Rockwell did a great job with his character in the sense of you don't know quite where he's coming from.
Wow, that's a real shocker.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell did a good job.
He dances in every scene, by the way.
Oh, he does dance a lot in
Every
this,
scene.
and it's great.
I'm gonna love this movie.
But I think Henry Cavill makes a great kind of a spoof of a super spy. I enjoyed that. Kent, I'm going to agree with you that there are probably too many plot twists in this movie.
Which you don't need.
Well, you just get a little exhausted by
Yes.
it. Like you're kind of like, all right.
Are they happening? Is there is it all near the end? Is it some throughout in the middle?
Some throughout, most at the end. Where at the end,
You think you've got it figured out, and then it twists it
they
again.
could have cut out one or two, and it would have cut like 20 minutes off the runtime, and I think it would have been a little tighter for that.
I apologize. This might be a spoiler to some. Some people don't want to know that there's a twist because then they're looking out.
If
for it.
if the fact that there's a twist is a spoiler, they're pulling too far back
in
from
a
the
spy
spoiler
movie,
chain.
especially.
Yeah.
Like you
Just
should know they
saying.
come.
Once you're expecting it,
But
it
with
can ruin
the
it.
plot twists, like you could see them coming, maybe not from a mile away, maybe from a quarter mile. Because like I was like I'd be watching the movie
Push
just
this
during
Fast
it,
and Furious.
and all of
Yeah.
a sudden I'd be like, oh hey, I know what's about to happen, and then it would happen. So it's like
I love
kind of-
my spoilers
They
a quarter
projected
mile
just a
at a
little bit. And truthfully, there are a lot of action sequences, a lot of choreographed fights, a lot of music. They play the whole song
Yeah.
when they do a fight.
Yeah.
And it kind of got a little
choreographed
tedious.
to
Yeah,
it-
yeah, a
to
little
it?
bit that
A
way.
little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah. But it felt like it went on a little long. The action sequences did.
You're like, Edgar Wright does this better.
The parental guide,
Or even
like I
Matthew
said,
Vaughn's done it better with Kick Cars.
yeah,
Right?
But like I
And
said
Freebird.
before, there are lots of gunplay, no real blood. Violence is PG-13 violence.
Yeah.
There are a few scattered S words, one random F word said by Darius Dalhauer in the middle of a conversation. I went, why? And there is, before we go into spoiler territory, I want to let people know there is a mid-credit sequence, like right as the credits start. There's nothing at the end, so you can leave before the credits are over. But I think I like the ensemble cast. I thought it had high energy, and despite the fact that it seemed kind of cartoonish in parts,
Right.
both in CGI and in what's happening here, I had a good time. I would not be unhappy to see this movie again. In fact, my wife was like, "When you come home, tell me who Argylle really is." And I was like,
can't.
And I went, "I don't want to because I want to see this with you."
Okay.
Because I enjoyed it. I give it 3.5 stars.
I was going to do this. I tried to guess based on Joel's review.
3.5.
What he said is consistent with his score. Kent, you can work on that.
I'm a little negative, but at the same time, like Joel said, dumb fun. And it is that kind of movie. And also the season that we're in. I just saw a lot of like slow moving Sundance movies. This is kind of the perfect remedy for that.
Yeah, and well, okay. So as it was riding along, I'll say that at the beginning, it started. Every movie starts like a 3 for me, but this got up to like a 4-star for a while, where I'm like, I'm liking this.
Yeah.
and then it just like it has kind
Did they
of
over explain everything?
No, it was more. It was kind of, like they had multiple climaxes where it's like climax after climax after climax.
Right.
Like it kept building up to this thing, and then it would just go on to the movie would continue. I'm like, oh, I thought that was the end, and it kept doing that, and I kept being like, okay, I'm getting a little exhausted here, and the plot twists do get to the point where they get a little bit ridiculous, where you're like, there's no way that would happen, but I'm also having a good time.
Without spoiling anything, you anticipate a sequel? Or
Absolutely.
spin-off?
No.
What?
Nope. There.
That's literally what the mid-credit thing is. It's like
We can't talk about it until we're in the spoilers.
But it's not a spoiler. It's setting up maybe a future installment.
Movies have done that for years, and they've never come to fruition. But do you think that there's actually potential to do that?
I do.
It's sitting on the shoulders of another franchise. That's the only potential.
If this is well at the box office, you better believe there's going to be a sequel. And this is the only thing out right now, Kent.
I know. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, this has been fun. Bye.
Are you really
Zach?
going to leave?
Yeah, we're not going to spoil it for Zach.
Oh,
There's
sad.
twists and turns. I mean, Twitter kind of spoiled it for me, but I'm still leaving.
Bye, Zach.
Bye, Zach. I'm going to sing a song as you're going out.
Okay, goodbye. Sing. Have fun.
Now and then we're going to spoil this movie. Now and then.
He's just taking his time.
Yeah, I was gonna do the whole thing.
Yeah, you
but-
got to keep going. You got to keep going until
You
he
know
awkwardly leaves.
it's true. We're waiting for Zach to put on his shoes.
Hey, Joel, you want to do the whirly bird real quick?
Yeah. Cool. That would be a fun opportunity to do. All right.
I have to do a post show, and I'm not.
Zach's walking out.
Okay, bye, Zach.
So we're going to spoil. We're going to
Close the door.
spoil it now. We're going
Okay,
to
here we
spoil
go.
Argylle. We're spoiling Argylle.
Now, save the mid-credits thing up until a little bit later. Let's
Of course,
go a little
of
more
course.
into this story.
Bring it. Yeah, this is the story first.
Okay, so it starts off, and the book story, the characters are actually kind of living through the actual story.
Yes.
So, for example, Henry Cavill's Argylle goes in, and it's a typical James Bond thing, and there's a chase, and he meets a beautiful woman, and he's uncovered as a spy.
Yes.
And so it's this company, or it's this government agency called the Directorate.
Yes.
Directive? So one of those.
Bad guys.
The bad guys who he's been working for are actually trying to kill him, and so he's like, we got to work on our own. Well, that's actually happened in real life.
Yes. That's why they're trying to. That's why they kind of. These people start trying to abduct the author, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
Is because she seems to be predicting what's happening next.
So she is writing the newest book. She thinks she's done, but everyone's like, write one more chapter. You ended it on a cliffhanger. Actually, tell us what happens. How did they get this thing called the Silver Bullet, which is kind of the knock list from Mission Impossible? Yeah. Who are the real bad guys here? And she's like, you know what? I do have one more chapter to write.
Like her mom is like, let's get together and write a chat. Let's hash it out like we do and figure it, because it just feels like you're ending on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. And so she's about to travel. She's traveling on a train. And then she meets Sam Rockwell. He says, hey, I'm a spy. Just comes right out. And there are dozens of guys that are going to come in and try to kill
The
her.
whole compartment is bad guys.
Right. Which is a really fun scene. And that's when he splices in with Henry Cavill. I thought that scene was great.
It was, except for I felt like they relied on it too much. Like the joke happened so often. Like they kept cutting back to reaction shots of her like shaking her head and closing her eyes, and then seeing Argylle, and then shaking her, closing her eyes, and seeing Argylle.
Yeah.
And I went, if you would have done like 2 or 3 less of those, I think it would have been more impactful.
Okay, that's a good point.
But I really did like seeing Henry Cavill just take people and slam them down.
I know, and just smile at the
didn't
camera,
get tired
basically.
Of that. Yeah, didn't get tired of that.
So basically, he says, whatever you're about to write next, I want to know, and the bad guys want to know as well. So let's go somewhere. And they actually end up going to London, because that's where the story was going to take place next.
Right.
And let's go find out where this knock list is, and we'll be able to save the day and keep it out of the hands of the bad guys.
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston leads the agency of the bad guys.
Yeah.
And it's Bryan Cranston hamming it up in the best way possible.
He's having a good time.
And it's
the bad
dumb,
guy.
right? Because he's this older agency director,
With a
but he's
shotgun.
meant to be really intimidating at the same time. And he just sends goons, like countless goons, after them, whether they're in London or whatever. They're going to track their location.
One thing
becomes a chase.
I really liked about this movie too is when he says, "Oh, we found them. They're in London," and he's like, "Okay, send the local team."
Yeah.
Instead of like all these other movies where it's like, "Oh, they're across the world. Let's go.
We'll be there.
And I'm like, "No, that would never happen." So in this movie, I kind of went, "Good job, movie."
Yeah, actually, I was into that as
So
well.
yeah, that was good.
And then, there's a lot of action scenes, and there's a lot of cat stuff going on.
Yeah. So she does start kind of writing the next chapter.
Yeah, she does.
And it works out like, oh, this actually, I thought for a while there that I was like, well, she's not going to know, because I thought someone else was Argylle. I thought her mom was Argylle. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Because we're in the spoiler territory.
Yes,
That's
we
what
are.
I thought. Because her mom was like, hey, let's get together and write the chapter together.
Catherine O'Hara, by the way.
Yeah, Catherine O'Hara. And I went, oh, okay, it's going to be the mom. So I'm like, she's not going to be successful. So I thought the way the movie was going to go was that she was going to try to write the next chapter and just not find anything. Like it was going to keep failing.
Okay.
And then her mom would come along and like help her figure it out.
So one thing we figure out along the way is that Sam Rockwell's character, even though it splices in with Henry Cavill, it's a little kind of confusing. He's not Argylle.
No.
He is actually the John Cena American spy counterpart of Argylle.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, his name is Wild. Oh, like he's John Cena.
And I liked how his character, you are kind of like Bryce Dallas Howard's character in the sense where you don't know if you should trust him or not.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he's like, he's completely on her side and friendly, helpful. And other times he's kind of a jerk to her.
Well, and there's one really cliche scene where he's like, we got to put a stop to
Gotta
this
put
person.
a bullet in Ellie Conway?
Yeah, Conway,
Ellie
yep.
Conway's head.
Yeah.
Like I was like, dude, you're a super spy and you don't check your surroundings when you're talking on the phone.
I know. And it just had to happen, so she gets away, and then he tracks her, and then she gets
they
in
could have
trouble.
gone a little more subtle with that, but this movie is not subtle.
At all.
No.
Like, it really is a cartoon where it's like, here's what's happening. Isn't this crazy? And you're like, I've seen it before in 4 other movies.
But still fun.
But still fun.
Yeah.
And then, so they do this big reveal, like her parents. Okay, sorry. Pull it back just a little bit. She mentions on a book tour that she lost her memory when she had an ice skating accident.
And it's a throwaway line. Honestly,
Totally
I don't
throwaway.
think they drew enough to, like, they didn't draw too much attention to it. It was just enough where they said that. I'm like, that's right. They did say that.
So her parents meet up with her in London to kind of help her out, and it's Catherine O'Hara once again. But Bryan Cranston is her dad, and you're like, okay, that's kind of fun.
Okay, so when that was the moment.
Yeah.
When the Spider-Man Homecoming moment, when like they kept referencing the dad but not showing the dad.
Right.
And it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes before he showed up that I went, oh, her dad is the bad guy.
Right.
But when he opened that door and walked in, it's like, hi, honey, and it's the bad guy. It's Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
The group of people up by us
Blown
were
away.
like, what?
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at him like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
But still fun.
Yeah, it's still fun. And of course, she's getting in more and more trouble. At one point, she leaves the cat behind. And I was like, I wonder why they did that. But they obviously needed like a damsel in distress, which was the cat at the end.
Yeah.
Which didn't really come into play all that much.
But then Sam Rockwell shoots Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah. Who is British and evil, by the way.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And it was funny to me that, like, okay, so he walks in and he's like, he stops Bryan Cranston and Catherine O'Hara puts, I think they're just using their real names.
Yeah, right.
Catherine O'Hara puts Bryce Dallas Howard at gunpoint. And so it's weird. He shoots him, or shoots the mom. And then as they're leaving, she's like, you shot my parents. He's like, they're not your parents. And then they drive 12 hours. And I went, at no point you're going to be like, what do you mean they're not my parents? Please explain this to me.
Yeah.
But then, of course, he probably couldn't because they get to the farm in France.
Samuel L. Jackson, who used to be the director of the CIA,
Yes.
takes her to a little shed, and it's all technological, and he goes, let's meet the real Agent Argylle. It's you. Before you had your ice skating accident, which was really just a horrible accident, and was brainwashed into believing she was just a normal person.
So she's out on a mission.
Yeah.
An explosion happened.
Yeah.
And basically she's Jason Bourne at this point.
Right. And she was Agent Rachel Kyle, or R. Kyle.
Argylle.
So
so she's been writing these books,
Yeah.
and she's not creating them out of scratch. She's actually remembering memories from her missions.
And so the bad guys want her to write these books so that they'll say, hey, these are your memories. Give us all your spy secrets through these books.
And so they hired, once the bad guys found out that she'd lost her memory,
Yeah.
they then begin to use her and brainwash her into thinking she's Ellie Conway,
And
mild-mannered
we're your
author.
parents.
And we're your parents. We have this cute little music box for you. We have all your mementos. And they that's why they're not her parents, which I was really confused. I'm like, what do you mean they're not her parents? Like, that did not click for me. I didn't see the twist coming, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I said, I thought the real Agent Argylle was going to be her mom, and she was feeding her information.
I was
the
so
whole time.
worried it was going to be the cat for some reason.
Some people get this, and I'm like, how would that have been?
Because I thought the movie was just going to go into that territory.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't. But I will admit I was surprised by that twist. That I went, oh, okay, so she is.
But I think the one twist too far was at the very end, they actually say she was a double agent and she was working for the bad guys.
Yes.
And so she was trying to get the knock list to just for her own reasons, even though she's like, it was for good reasons. But she is also a killer. I was like, that's one too far. Like, I don't really care. Like, I'm done.
I was okay with it just because I was like, but that's the thing. It was twist upon twist upon twist.
Right.
I think I saw one reviewer say, one review I saw said, I could hear Exhibit in my head saying, yo, dog, I hear you like twists. So I put plot twists in your plot twists.
Yeah, that's pretty
And
much
I
it.
went, that's kind of accurate.
Yeah. And so eventually there's this big fight on a tanker, very James Bondian, but also kind of Get Out at the end because the ballerina music box is used against her to brainwash her to fight Sam Rockwell.
That to me was the twist too far. When I kind of
Right.
went, we could have ended this, and
Yeah.
you're just extending it, and it got ridiculous.
And they need another climax where it's like, we're going to upload the knock list. I keep calling it the knock list.
Yeah.
To Samuel
The
L.
silver bullet.
Jackson. And then it was like, oh, we want to kill Samuel L. Jackson because he's the last link. And
Yeah,
it's like,
he's a loose end.
eh.
I was okay with that. But when you say builds up to a final fight, there are like 3 final fights on the
Yeah.
tanker.
Yeah.
There's one that is very reminiscent of Kingsman, where there's like colorful smoke everywhere and slow motion and shooting.
Right.
Which was fun for a bit, but I
You
also
couldn't really see what was going on.
no. And I kept being like, is this reality? Because it was so cartoonish.
Well, I don't think
also
it was
fun.
reality because whenever the bad guys were watching The Room, they weren't doing all those dance moves.
I don't know why they were watching that Brie Larson movie, but no.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's that climactic fight. There's also one where they're dumping oil all over the ground, CGI oil all over the ground.
And I was like, oh, it's going to be like Transporter. Here we go.
And then, well, because it's just funny because they're like, don't shoot.
Yeah.
Because any spark can cause this to blow up. And so then Ellie puts knives on the bottom of her boots and ice skates around the oil. Once again, I guffawed, and I kept being like, am I guffawing because it's stupid? Or am I guffawing because they know this is stupid?
They had to know it was stupid, but also
was.
it was like 3.5 minutes long.
Oh, it was long.
Like, make it 1 minute. Make it something where she just goes through and slashes everyone. That's where I think the movie could have been rated R, and it would have benefited the movie.
I think it could have cut it down, though, and it would have been better for it.
Yeah.
Like that scene. That was one where I kind of went, wow, okay. But also, I kept being like, you said one little spark. She's literally driving like metal on concrete around here.
And then she also shoots the entire room up.
And nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
That made me laugh.
And yeah, they just kept being fights upon fights upon fights.
Yeah.
And then more contrivances with people coming back from the dead. And that's the movie. And that's where I think like, oh man.
They telegraph stuff because like they have a partner. Like apparently there's a spot in your chest where you can shoot and it looks like a heart.
Yeah.
It looks like a kill shot.
Right.
But it goes through this like empty space in your chest and you're okay. Even after that though, I don't know how Sam Rockwell was fully on fighting because he had a hole in his chest.
Yeah.
He did pump himself full of adrenaline, sure.
I think the adventure, the romp part of it between Sam Rockwell and Bryce Dallas Howard is what makes this work so well.
Yeah.
Without those 2 leads, I would have been like, oh my gosh, this is so cliche.
Yeah.
But because they were in the movie, I was like, oh, this is fine. I'm having a good time.
Yeah. I just thought the same thing because Sam Rockwell really did a good job of playing that I'm not your typical spy,
Right.
but also good at what he does. And then Bryce Dallas Howard, she played the timid part very well, I thought. Like there's a part in an airplane when she's freaking out, and the way she's freaking out, the way he talks to her, I was like, I like that moment.
Yeah.
That was a good moment.
It's a good moment.
So
Okay, so then, anyways, they save the day. Whatever.
Well, and the one thing I could not get past, Kent, the one thing that really was a burr in my saddle
Go on.
was the fact that they used the Beatles' latest song, Now and Then, and they were playing it, which is fine. But then he's like, this is our song.
Yeah, wasn't that weird?
5 years ago. And I was like, time out. Everyone in the world knows that is the newest Beatles song that just came out. And you're saying that it came out 5 years ago? Like,
What was that?
I don't know. Like, it was weird to me that they chose that song to say this is our song from our past.
Right.
When it was the newest song. So maybe they're 5 years in the future, but I couldn't get it out of my head, Kent. I couldn't let it go.
It bugs you.
Yeah.
Takes it down to 0.5.
And they play it a couple times. There was also a rendition of Run by Snow Patrol.
Yeah.
That was unique.
Weird.
I kind of went, wow, that almost has the same feel as Now and Then, but why?
I know.
But still fun,
It's Matthew Vaughn. He wants style.
I guess.
And I think the style was a little too cotton candy like. It was just like, yeah, it's for a PG-13 crowd. It's a date night crowd, which is fine to make a movie for that crowd. But I think he dumbed down his normal stylings. Okay, so explain what happened in the mid-credit stinger, because I was a little confused.
Oh, all it was is just a setup for the next movie, which is going to be more Argylle based. So, we probably should say that. So, I mean, there's twist upon twist upon twist.
Okay. So there's a final book reading at a book tour.
Because she finished her series.
When she's done, the bad guys are done, and she's going to move on with her life.
Because she is a double agent for the bad guys, but she chooses to be good.
Yeah, and so
she's a cat person
She's
now.
in love with Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
And so she's reading the final book to a group of people, like on a book tour.
Yeah.
And people always ask questions like, "Oh, what was your inspiration?" Whatever. And there's one guy in the audience, and you know it from coming from a quarter mile away.
Did you?
Yeah, because you saw the mullet and the muscles.
I didn't see the mullet and the muscles.
Oh, you didn't?
No, not until he stood up.
Okay.
But I thought it was going to be like someone else. Like I thought it was going to be one of the parents or something.
But one guy raised his hand, total ugly mullet, and she goes,
and tobacco in his
yeah, and she's
lip.
like, one last question. Was he a Southern accent or
Yeah.
something? And it was Henry Cavill with another horrible hairpiece.
What, the worst haircut.
The worst haircut. And he goes, I'm sure you have a lot of questions for me. And I was like, what? What's going on?
I actually kind of went, wait, so
Is Argylle real?
that's what I kind of wondered.
Or is he another spy? Is he someone that she worked with in the past?
Maybe that's what they're trying
And so
to
the
get us
movie
to
wants you to believe that. But I think when they kind of show a flashback, and I'm saying it probably goes back 30 years of a Kingsman type story.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a Kingsman movie or an Argylle story.
I
to be
think,
honest.
well, he said his name was Argylle. So
He did, but he went into a bar called the Kingsman.
yeah. So I think that maybe Argylle is a former Kingsman, is what I'm guessing.
So is the Kingsman series
Yes.
part of her universe?
That's what I'm thinking it is.
So I think that's why I say this won't get an Argylle sequel, that we will get a Kingsman movie with Argylle in it.
No, but I think the Kingsman's.
Which I'd be totally
there's
fine
already
seeing
been
Henry
3 of them.
Cavill in a Kingsman movie.
Well,
by the
and
way.
there's already been 3 of them.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be an Argylle story next, like how he came to be in that fictional world.
I'd be fine with that. I just don't see Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell doing the same kind of movie.
No, I don't know if they'll be in it as much.
Yeah,
like
or at all.
Maybe it flips where it's like Henry Cavill is, or the younger actor who's playing him.
Yeah.
But that's like the main thing, and then they come in every now and then and write something or do something, and it ties in.
So that's where I was confused.
It is a little
I was like, is
confusing.
this a connected universe now? Like, what's going on?
Because the fact that if it was just a fictional story, that's one thing. But what they imply and say in the movie is that the things that happen in the book really happened in real life.
Right.
And so, if we see the Argylle movie, are we just seeing the story of Argylle? I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. But I would not be. I'm not.
I'd watch it.
I'd watch it too. I'm not going to be offended if they come out with another movie. I'd go see it.
Yeah. Like I said, I think this, and it's weird it's coming out 2 weeks before Valentine's Day. I think this is the movie C for the next 2 weeks.
Probably so. Although I just find it so interesting you gave it such a high score, Ken, because I was convinced you were hating it.
Oh, I actually tried to hide my chuckles from you because I was laughing quite a bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because I laughed a couple times and I went, oh, shoot, Ken's not liking this.
No, I was
He's going
actually-
to think I'm a slack-jawed yokel.
I was laughing because I think, unlike Marvel movies where it's like one-liners after action, this was like Sam Rockwell just constantly just jabbing. And I think he does it so well that I totally gave it a pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. That
right.
is our review for Argylle, the first big movie, shall we say, of
Yeah.
2024.
For the next couple months, probably.
Yeah. And so if you've seen it, let us know. Please, I'm going to say this. Don't be the one who spoils it for people, because that was a surprising twist for me.
Okay.
And I don't want my wife to see it either. But in the comments, when you comment about this movie, let's keep things vague. If you want to talk spoilers, you can reach us in the DMs. Otherwise, we look forward to hearing from you and your reviews of Argylle.
I love my spoilers.
They
a quarter
projected
mile
just a
at
little
time.
bit.